Hello, my dear boys. Welcome to this session. This is going to be the session on chapter 1. But before that, I hope if you are listening to this, all of you are healthy and safe. Stay safe, I urge you, and I would also request you to follow the guidelines that are given by civic authorities, as well as listen to the guidelines given by the health department, and above all, listen to your parents. Keep them safe. Keep your elderly, near and dear ones safe. Try to protect them because we all love them and we all need them for guidance, for wisdom, and we need them to be in and around us, to love us. Having said that, we come to the first chapter. This is the textbook that you are going to have. I'm sure most of you do not have it, and you are probably going to get it one of these days. Make sure that you get it, and for the benefit of those who do not have it, I have put up the scans, and they are not proper to be put up that way, but during this unprecedented times we have no other means, so take it as a stopgap measure until you have these textbooks, but try and make sure that you have it at the earliest. My dear boys, we are going to study in this chapter about the growth in nationalism. But before that, the whole history that you are going to study this year ranges from year 1905 to 1941. First of all, we are going to see in the first 5 chapters the history of India within this period, and after that its parallel in the world history. Coming back to the Indian history, the first chapter is about growth in nationalism, and in this chapter particularly we see the partition of Bengal, which took place in the year 1905. Why is this chapter so important? It is important because this is one of the major initiatives in the freedom struggle. Not that there wasn't an attempt for the struggle of freedom. In 1857, the Great Uprising itself was the beginning of the freedom struggle. But it was not a concerted and nationalistic affair. Every states, princely states, fought for their own independence and autonomy. But after that, the major struggle or major event towards the freedom was this partition of Bengal. After 1857, the British government took over from the East India Company, and after that there was growth in education, there were social reforms. With all this, a sense of nationalism, a sense of belonging was growing in the minds of the people. In 1885, with an attempt to be independent, Indian National Congress was formed in Bombay, today's Mumbai. And people were trying to organize themselves and making a collective voice in order to put up a strong foot forward. Partition of Bengal was an attempt by the British government. Basically, the Governor General was at that time Lord Curzon, who was a governor of Bengal as well as India, Governor General, from 1899 to 1905. He was an imperialist. He wanted the British government, British Empire to shine. And it was his attempt through the partition of Bengal to divide the people so that there wouldn't be any opposition to the British government in India. And therefore, he thought of dividing Bengal along the ethnic lines and weakening the Bengali population, which was at the forefront of the freedom struggle at that time. Calcutta was the capital of British India, and it was the capital till December 1911. In December 1911, this capital was shifted to New Delhi, but after that, the building of the capital in New Delhi took place, and it was basically shifted in the 1930s. Okay, now the partition of Bengal was announced on 20th of July 1905 to come into effect on 16th of October 1905. But the plan for the partition was devised way back in 1902-1903. Already through the Municipal Act of Bengal and also through the Universities Act, Lord Curzon was trying to decrease the opposition to the British government. Why this partition? What is the reason? The Indian historians see a motive which is not good from the part of British. Indian historians say that it is a part of the divide and rule by the British government. Whereas the British government or the British historians justify the partition saying it as that it is an administrative measure because Bengal was too big to rule and govern, and administratively it was very difficult to take care of it, and economically also dividing Bengal had its own benefits. These are all for and against historians' view. The partition was to be effective on 16th of October 1905. The protest against this partition took place in various phases. It started as a moderate protest movement. It was a peaceful movement in the beginning. But as time went on and the desired effect was not seen, it got little aggressive and a bit violent in the end. So I'm just introducing the first chapter. First, it was a peaceful movement whereby people made signature campaign, protested, submitted memorandum, but when it did not bear fruit, people thought of becoming self-reliant and formed self-help groups. They organized themselves. That was the second phase. By organizing at village level, at various levels of the society, they started showing their protest or non-cooperation movement with the British government. In the third phase, it got little more aggressive, whereby people started buying their own indigenous produced goods, what is called as Swadeshi movement. And there was also a boycott movement that was taking place. In the fourth phase, it was an intense boycott movement, boycott of foreign goods. There was picketing, whereby people could not go and buy the foreign goods. There was also boycott of the courts, the government courts. There was a boycott of colleges and schools, but an alternative was to be offered. And therefore, many great industrialists started indigenous industries, Indian industries like Bengal Chemicals, Calcutta Potteries, and many other small-scale industries came into being. They were established. Now, later on in the fifth phase, the movement took a revolutionary character. It got more violent because people did not see the desired effect. We'll talk about it a little later. But the Swadeshi movement or the partition movement failed. It did not bear the desired effect. Why did it fail? There are various reasons. First of all, ruthless measures followed by the British government were part of the failure. They did not allow the movement to succeed. But before that, in 1907, the Congress also got split. And therefore, the opposition, the protest was weakened. During this movement, many leaders were also arrested, put behind bar, and therefore there was a leadership vacuum. And then the middle class, it was the movement of the middle class. The poor people, the farmers did not support, and very many intellectuals did not support either. And therefore, the movement could not have been sustained. The Muslims did not support because slowly the movement also took a religious character, and therefore the movement did not succeed. We come to the revolutionary character. There were secret societies or revolutionary societies that were formed, mainly Anushilan Samiti in Bengal, which later on also became two societies. One is Yugantar in West Bengal and Anushilan Samiti in East Bengal. And there was already another revolutionary society that was there in Maharashtra, which is called as Abhinav Bharat. This Anushilan Samiti as well as Abhinav Bharat were the societies, revolutionary societies, which didn't come into existence with partition of Bengal. They were already there, but they all took on uh, the protest movement little more enthusiastically. Why did these revolutionary societies take up the cause of the Indian freedom struggle? First of all, they were motivated by what was happening in and around the world. Through the media, the press, and through education, they knew what was happening in the world. That very many countries, that very many groups all over the world were clamoring for freedom. In India, there were social and religious movements which were coming up, and their concentration was towards reforming the society, reforming the religion and religious practices, drawing people to the right type of religious practices. They were also instilling a love for their own country. Besides these social and religious movements, there were people who were influencing, like Swami Vivekananda, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, and Ravindranath Tagore, freedom fighters like Lal Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Bipin Chandra Pal. All these personalities were motivating and calling for a concerted effort towards the freedom struggle. And therefore, people were motivated to redeem, to liberate their motherland from the foreign domination. Besides this, people had access to newspapers through vernacular press. And this vernacular press carried articles, news, motivating people to work for the freedom of India. Even international events helped instill courage and enthusiasm in Indian people. For example, in 1904, Japan, a small country, defeated Russia. This encouraged people, saying that a small country, if it could defeat huge Russian might, then we too can do what is needful. And therefore, the secret societies were formed. Anushilan Samiti, which was formed in Bengal, in Calcutta itself. A branch of it was formed in Dhaka by Pulin Das, and later on, the Anushilan Samiti in Bengal, in West Bengal, came to be known as Yugantar Group. Abhinav Bharat was a secret society that was formed in Pune, in Maharashtra, and that too took up the cause of Indian freedom struggle. These societies tried to fight, tried to liberate India through violent means. What was at the back of their mind? They were convinced that Indian freedom has to be won not only by petitions or protests, it has to be won by blood and sacrifice. Any violent protest cannot be sustained for a long time, and Indian people were not accustomed to violence at that time, and therefore this movement also failed. Slowly, the protest movement died down. But it was an attempt, it was the beginning of the freedom struggle that came along throughout. I would like you after this to go through the text, read it carefully, and I have given you the questions that are there in the text, both short answer questions and long answer questions. Please try to answer those things and be ready to write or answer to any tests that will be given to you in course of time. Wish you all the best.